Man, my hair has grown so much in the past year. It's been crazy. That's why today I'm going to be talking about the hair growth timeline of a hair transplant. I've had a lot of people ask me this question on my channel, and I figured this is the best time to go through it because my hair has pretty much grown out to its full extent, and I figured I'd just share that timeline with you guys so you guys understand how long it actually takes the hair to grow from the day you get your surgery up until a year later when your hair is at its full peak of growth. Welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Amit. If you don't already know, I got not one but 2 hair transplants done from Istanbul, Turkey. A while ago, I was pretty bald. I didn't have any hair on my head. Well, no, I did have some hair on my head, but it wasn't enough for me to feel confident about myself. So I felt that doing a hair transplant was the best option for me. So I booked a flight, flew down to Turkey, went to Vera Clinic, and I got 6,100 grafts extracted from my donor area and placed onto my hairline and my mid-scalp for the first time around. That first procedure went pretty well, and I decided to go back a second time to get my crown done. At the time, the clinic couldn't do it, so they suggested to come back a year later. So I told myself I wanted to see how much my hair would grow in that 1 year timeline before I really wanted to go back for a second one. For today's video, I'm going to go through pretty much all of that as well, but in more detail about each different stage of what you have to go through when you get this hair transplant. If you like content like this, as well as any sort of hair transplant topics, do consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And of course, if you just want to learn more about a hair transplant, get your hair back, or just watch me grow a full head of hair. So for the first 3 days after a hair transplant is really where all the discomfort lies. On those first 3 days, you'll definitely have a lot of swelling, a lot of itchiness, a lot of redness, but it's nothing to fear because that's all part of the process. You've just gone through a big surgery and naturally your scalp is going to react a certain way. You might notice a lot of bleeding or a lot of scabs forming on your scalp, but again, it's all pretty normal. The first 3 days are a bit tough, but once you get past that, it's not that bad. There are a lot of post-op care that the clinics do advise you, such as taking certain swelling medications or even painkillers to help reduce that sort of pain, and over time it will get better. For the first 2 weeks of your hair transplant, you won't really see that much growth, but your hair will look good because the scabs that are forming give you the illusion that your hairline or your mid-scalp has thickened up. Now, it's very easy to be fooled by that, but as the 11th to 12th day comes along where you have to remove those scabs, you'll see the difference between the scabs and once they're removed. Now, I made a video on how to wash your hair after a hair transplant, which you can clearly see me having the scabs versus not having the scabs on anymore, and there is a vast difference. It might discourage you a little bit to see that you're back to square one where you don't have that much hair on your head again, but it's all part of the process, and over time it will start to grow. Once you pass those initial few weeks of recovery for your scalp and your donor area, you'll move on to the first month of your hair transplant. Now, from the first to the 3rd month is really where you will start seeing a lot of change on your scalp. The first month is really where the dominant stage really happens, where a lot of the hairs will have very small initial growth, but also eventually fall off because of the shedding phase. I've spoken about this a lot in my past videos, how the first 3 months are actually the most dreadful. They bring out a lot of doubt about the whole situation of getting a hair transplant. There will be a point where you'll go through this phase called the ugly duckling phase, where a lot of your hair will fall out and it will seem as if you've just taken a step backwards instead of forwards. But don't fear, because it is all part of the process. The shedding phase basically means all the hair that has been transplanted in are just falling out. But that's only because the newer ones that are rooted into your scalp are trying to push out, which is basically where the initial stages of your hair growth will start to form. Once you start seeing those little small hairs grow out, you'll start to feel a little better about yourself. But again, you will not look the best, but you just have to hang in there because over time it will get better. People usually wear hats during this phase, which is completely fine. It's safe, and a lot of people won't be staring at your semi-bald head like they did to mine back in the day. But once you pass this stage, it only gets better. Now, from month 4 to 6 is where you will start seeing visible growth. It's not going to be like a big explosive amount, but it will be at least 30 to 40% more than it was before. It takes some time to get to that point, but as long as you're keeping up with the right aftercare, which I'll go through at the end of this video, but as long as you're keeping up with that, and you will visibly see your hair grow out more and more. As this 30 to 40% new hair growth is coming in, the texture of the hair might be a little thin, but it will get more and more thicker over time. By this time as well, you'll probably have done a couple of haircuts, and the more haircuts you do at this point, the easier the flow of hair grows out as well, because not all the hair grows out at an even rate. So if you get a haircut, trim it up a little bit just to get a little bit of more evenness. It'll help in the long run. Alright, so these months are where a lot of things start to change. From month 6 to 9 is where you start seeing a lot more density. Now this is around 60 to 70% more hair than you had before. And trust me, it feels so great to see it just form over time. I remember when I started seeing my hair grow out more and more, I was shocked at the amount of hair I had on my head because again, I didn't have that much in the past. So when I saw that on my scalp, one day waking up, it was quite amazing. And you won't even realize it unless you're taking photos every single day or every single month. You won't really notice that big explosion, but one day I woke up and I was like, wow, this is a lot more than I had before. The high density phases really come in during these months. And here's also where you start seeing the texture of your hair get even more thicker and healthier over time. Alright, so this is about the final stages of your first hair transplant that you've done on your scalp. Now, usually from the 9th to the 12th month, you won't see a significant difference, but you will see a little bit more growth here and there. You are mostly at the end stage of the hair cycle, and it should in fact look like you have a full head of hair in the areas that you've added the transplants. Your hair should be much more thicker, longer, and more natural looking as well. And of course, as I said before, the texture of your hair should have a very nice look and flow to it, and you should be able to style your hair in any possible way that you'd like to at this point. I remember when I finished my 1 year mark, I was as happy as I could be because I never thought I'd have such long hair before. At some point my hair was even a little curly at the front, and again, I never had curly hair in the past, but it was very interesting to see how that hair formed into that. And over time, for me personally, it became more and more straight because after the more haircuts, the more hair cycles that come out, you kind of get back into a flow that's more natural looking for yourself. So as this 1 month mark comes to a close, at least you can see what type of hair you have by then and what type of style you want to keep your hair in as well. Now, for the rare cases that you don't have the full density of your hair after the 1 year mark, usually hair transplants also take up to 18 months to complete. This is mostly catered to the crown, but of course, if you've had that issue in the hairline and mid-scalp, what I can suggest is to keep continuing taking aftercare and help promote that hair growth on your scalp in the transplanted areas. I've seen some people had that issue in the past, but again, follow the right regimens of how to take care of your hair. That growth will come out as much as it can. When I started my whole journey, I consistently stuck with a particular aftercare routine. I made a whole video about the stuff that I use now, and I'm also going to make a video soon about the new stuff that I'm using. But at the present moment, the stuff that I have been using has been working for me pretty well. One of the most important things is taking finasteride. I used to take 1 milligram every single day when I started out with my hair transplant, and that was very effective for me. I also use Minoxodil every single day from morning to night, and also different types of shampoos and conditioners, as well as oils, the whole shebang. I've linked everything in the description below. I've got a couple of discounts that you guys can pick up as well if it helps you in any way. Check them out. They're all very useful. I'd only recommend products that I use, so hopefully some of it is useful to you as well. Hey guys, I completely forgot to add this part in, but I think it's still important for you guys to know that I have a one-on-one hair consultation service that helps you guys talk about anything you want about your hair transplants. If you're losing hair or if you are planning to get a hair transplant, I can help guide you along the way and give you any advice that you need to know prior to getting your hair transplant done. I've helped so many people in the past, and I'm so thankful that I'm able to do that for you guys as well. I have a 30-minute and a 60-minute slot open. Book the time that's most convenient for yourselves, and we can start having that conversation together. Alright, I think that's all for today's video. I just wanted to go through this quick timeline of how the hair actually grows on your scalp after a hair transplant. Hopefully it was knowledgeable to you guys and gave you enough value to understand how that happens for yourselves. As always, please like this video if you haven't already and subscribe to the channel. A lot more stuff is coming out soon, and I've got a couple of exciting announcements as well coming out. And yeah, I'm also going to Turkey very, very soon, yet again. So I will reveal why very, very soon in the next video. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.